It's mid-November, and with us living and gardening in Zone 9A, the frosts are on their way. It's only about 5 degrees today, but it is quite a pleasant day. The sun is shining, and last night we got down to about 2 degrees. But over the next few nights we're expecting 0 and below. And that's about right for us, because gardening in Zone 9A, your first average frost date of the year will be mid-November. And for us, when we get to next year, our last one will be mid-April. You know, you very often think to yourself that, this hasn't gone right and that hasn't gone right. Well, I was reading a comment from Paula this morning, Paula T. She had her last frost in mid-June, and they're expecting snow in the next few days. It's already been in the minuses for the last few weeks. That's tough gardening. So hats off to you guys that have to garden in such harsh temperatures. Now, we do send our best wishes to you, Paula. I noted in the comment that your husband has been not too good, and myself and Mrs. W, we do send you our best wishes, and we hope all is fine now. Now, because of those frosts, Mrs. W wants me to get her tubs in, which are around our front door, to make it look pleasant when people come to our front door. So they now need to go into the greenhouse, where they'll spend the next few months until probably next May, when we know that all danger of frost will have passed, and they can once again come out and show us their lovely blousy blooms. Now, in today's programme, well, the title says all really, it's the winter greenhouse. So let's go have a look and see exactly what we have to do in there. Hello and welcome back to the No Dig Norfolk Gardener. Now, I've just got a little job to do, and that's just to finish this squash off. And what I try and do is just put a little olive oil on the skins. They just help them preserve that little longer. That's all you need to do. They just need a light oiling. Here it is. And what will happen to them is that they'll go down into our shed, where it shouldn't freeze. It doesn't normally.
No, it's quite sheltered actually, the shed is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Tucked in between the houses and things.
Yeah. They don't need a huge amount of oil, so it's not going to cost you a fortune. But I always find it just does keep the skins in good conditions. And you can see that these have cured really well.
They have, yeah.
They're hollow, they're ripe all over now. In fact, we did have one the other day,
I used one, yes, when it was Maggie's birthday the other week. I made a pumpkin pie.
Yes. Very lovely.
Very
it was
traditional.
too. Yeah. It was really good. Really good. But yeah, you generally know if your squash are fully cured because they will have that hollow sound. And there's my thumb. I can't get that into that skin. It's not making a mark at all.
That was that little one that we left on the vine right at the end of the season, didn't we? Just to see.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay. I think it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Seems if it's curing okay, so that's good.
So they're now ready to go down to our shed. Now the winter greenhouse. Why are we planting up the greenhouse when we have the polytunnel? Well, the polytunnel, as you can see, we planted this up a few weeks back, and we've already had some lovely pickings, as you can see, of the spinach and the pak choy. In fact, we had a lovely stir fry a couple of nights ago, didn't we? Which was really amazing. All we need to do now is to ensure that we have this kind of harvest next year. You can see here that Mrs. W has been busy. She's been sowing. And these were sown some weeks back. And I've got Arctic King and Winter Density.
They're lettuce, aren't they?
They're lettuce, yeah. I've got some more spinach to go into the greenhouse, some more pak choy. And they will repeat these harvests when these plants, they'll probably finish giving us our harvest. Maybe not the spinach, but certainly the pak choy and the lettuce, they'll probably be done with by Christmas.
Yes.
But we want to be able to enjoy those flavours and those vegetables beyond that time. So that is why we need to plant up the winter greenhouse. The greenhouse actually doesn't get as cold as the polytunnel. So I'm told, because this is our first year of actually growing in our lovely Haygrove polytunnel. But we have been advised that it does actually keep cooler in the polytunnel than it does in the greenhouse. So these second plantings that we're going to put in, they should do better in the greenhouse. Now, I did want to thank you all for your many comments after the last video, and suffice to say, myself and Mrs. W got it rather wrong, didn't we? Those tips for the month. Overwhelmingly, 100% of you said, no, please keep them. We're here to serve you, so the top tips will remain.
Definitely.
And also for your many suggestions of what the grow along should be. I don't have the final totals to it yet. It's actually Saturday morning as we're filming here. So that video is still running. I'm still getting comments off the video. And of course, across the rest of our social media. One of them, and there's been several votes for it, is actually for the kohlrabi. We've actually been enjoying our kohlrabi. We only have the one left now. But that's what they kind of look like, and that's how they want to look really for our harvest. They could get a little bit bigger, but the larger they get, the more sort of woody they get. But they are a wonderful vegetable. They taste of cabbage, but instead of, pulling leaves off and shredding them, well, we like to just cut them up into cubes, don't we, and drop them into our casseroles and stews, and they do have that lovely cabbage taste. And conversely, when you grow them in spring and they become ready in the summer, you can grate it into salads, and it provides again that wonderful sort of brassica cabbagey taste. So that one's definitely in the running at the moment, because we have had several votes for that, as we have melons.
We've never grown melons ourselves, have we?
No, so if that actually ends up winning, then we'll probably all be growing them for the first time together.
Yeah.
And those of you that have grown them before, well, clearly you can give us some advice as we...
Hints and tips for us.
Yes, as we start to grow them. Regardless whether they are the top vote melons, we are going to be growing melons next year.
Yes, we're going to have a go.
Grandchildren absolutely love them, don't they?
Oh, they do, yes, yeah.
Especially Charlie, young Charlie, he really does. I'm just looking down here, Mrs. W, and I can see that the shallots are beginning to germinate and sending up some green leaves.
Yeah. That one's quite a good one. That one's now getting some on there. Yep. Little green shoots coming through. That's good. No garlic as yet that I can see.
No. I reckon we'll see their heads by the end of the month, Mrs. W.
Do you think? Yeah, hopefully.
I think so. And the carrots, they've all germinated very nicely.
At long last. They took a long time. The row of Marion, which we put in first, was so patchy, but all of a sudden, the whole row has started to germinate, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So.
But the Norwich...
yeah, that's a good
they've
row.
germinated really well. We've got a really good row there, haven't we?
good row of germination there, yes.
Do you know what, Mrs. W? I forgot your honey boot.
How could you do that?
How could I?
I used that in the pumpkin pie as well, one of those and one of the curry squash. And the other butternuts, which they're in the kitchen, because I took them down because I was going to use them and then I didn't for something.
Yeah.
So we need to just make sure we put the oil on those too before we put them into storage.
I can see you've been quite busy, Mrs. W. I can see that you've been planting our strawberry runners up.
I have. That one that you're looking at there has been there. That was planted up earlier this year.
Oh, it was the one that was down by our house, was it?
Yes, yeah.
Ah.
But so I've done another one here, hanging basket. I'm just waiting. I need to get a hook from down at the house to hang it up next to the others. And I had a couple of spare tubs, so I've put some runners into those too. So, yeah.
Fantastic.
That's good.
We need to buy 2 or 3 more baskets, don't we?
Yeah.
Because our plan is to hang them up on these hooks, isn't it? And
Yes.
hopefully we can be eating strawberries toward the end of April.
That's the plan.
That's the plan. And as with all of our plans, we never know whether they're going to work.
No.
We just have these ideas and think, yeah, we'll give that a try. And you know, at this time of the year, the herbs aren't so good when it comes to being outside. They don't like the cold weather. So what we have done is to put some parsley plants into here, and these are going to actually go down to the house, aren't they?
Yeah, they're going to sit on the windowsill in the kitchen. So I've got a good supply.
Yeah.
And I've got some more little seedlings here as well.
We do use a lot of parsley, don't we?
We do. We like parsley, don't we? Right, I think we should crack on with the greenhouse.
I think so. Now, we had some garlic left over that we saved for the seed. So, put a row down toward the back of the border on each side. Rather than waste it, might as well go in there. Because anything that we grow for the summer crops, they will go in front of those here when these plants have finished. So let's start with the Arctic King. Just dib a hole, pop them in. And like I say, these should be giving us a harvest in the new year. They can grow on in here, and because we do live in the zone we live in, 9A, we've actually never known a frost to be in the greenhouse, have we?
No. Each year I store the geraniums over winter in the greenhouse, and I've never lost them to frost.
No.
In fact, the geraniums that are in the pots there, I think they're nearly 8 years old. So they've done well.
They have. So we're quite lucky in that respect. And that's why I wanted to plant these up in here and not in the polytunnel. Because with it being our first year of growing in the polytunnel, I don't know quite how cold that's going to get up there. Having said that, one of the reasons we located the polytunnel where it was is because actually, even outside, it doesn't particularly freeze up there. It's surrounded by the woodland behind and fencing either side.
But it's quite a sheltered spot, isn't it? So,
It is.
Yeah.
But we are going to plant 1 or 2 things in there just so that we can find out what does happen. That's the Arctic King. Now for the winter density. And as you saw in a previous video, when we got the greenhouse ready, we've already given this its annual mulch. And what you see on top here, this is what will feed these plants, and indeed the summer plants that go in here next year. That's those done. Now, if you can grow with nature, with the seasons, you'll always find that you get better results. That's not to say that you can't push the envelope a bit. So for example, the pak choy over here that I'm going to be putting in, they grow much better in the cooler months. They wouldn't like to be frosted, but they do like the cooler season, and certainly we find that they are less prone to bolt, which pak choy most certainly are. And of course what Mrs. W does is that she plans our meals around exactly what we do have available in the garden. And at this time of the year it is things like pak choy. And that pak choy is very, very good with stir fries. So we do eat quite a lot of stir fries at this time of the year. Whereas in the summer months we don't so much. So if you can grow these things, or any vegetable, at its right time, and as I say, then plan your meals around that, what you can use, so much the better.
I noticed my little clump of nasturtiums are still, they've been there for years. They just seed themselves, and I pull them out and then they come back after they're flowered. So
yeah, they never go away, do they?
They don't. I don't want them to go away. I think they're quite lovely.
That's the
there is the rake that we've been looking for, Barry. We've been looking for that all morning.
Yeah. I told you it was in here all the while.
Of course you did.
So on to the spinach. Spinach is a really valuable crop. I do love spinach and do love to have it with our meals. And if you look on the back of the seed packets, it will quite often tell you sow around about March time, plant out and enjoy. And that's fine, but we do like to get the maximum out of the crop that we can. The problem is if you plant it out sort of March or April time, is that by the time we get to June, it's had enough and it wants to, it's its natural time to rise and flower and produce its seeds. Whereas if you plant it sort of September, October time, or in our case in here, it's November time, you'll get some small pickings off it up until, well in our case, December, because even we will see some frosts, but they'll be quite light, usually. But the daytime temperatures from now all the way through to December, they'll always be above freeze, and there's always the odd anomaly where we get a cold snap, and it's happened before, but in general, we see 10, 12 degrees by day. So we do get pickings from these, and then when the colder weather does come, in January usually for us, then they'll rest, they won't do much. But then when we do get to the back end of February and into March, they really get...
They get going again then, don't they?
They get a real shift on.
Quickly. Yeah.
And so in that way, we're enjoying the lovely taste of spinach all the way until the following June, when it does want to rise and flower. And you don't have to have these in a greenhouse or a polytunnel. Spinach is quite happy outside. It doesn't particularly mind the frost. I mean, if there was a severe one, it's not going to be too clever, but that's the same for most plants. But certainly for us with -4s and 5s, it'll quite happily survive outside. You might just want to give it a bit of protection with some fleece or something just over it, just to keep the worst of the weather off, especially if you're expecting things like snow, because most of these plants can deal with a bit of frost, and then it warms up during the day and they get going again. When we get that time of year when we get to see the snow and everything, of course the daytime temperatures then barely get above freezing. prolonged freeze, they're not so keen on. So yeah, if you are growing them outside, just give them a bit of cover. I'll just give them a drink of water to water them in. And if you do like what we're doing, then please consider subscribing. We would like you, along with all our other subscribers, to be part of our No Dig journey, especially as we now head into 2024. It'll be our 3rd year, and things are still really good, aren't they, Mrs. W?
Oh yes, yes. I don't wish to go back to digging again at all.
No, in fact, we were in the fruit bed, the soft fruit bed, a bit earlier today, and that is not No Dig. Behind me, where the blackberry is and where we grow the raspberries, we've had them there ever since we moved in here, haven't we?
Yeah.
And so we weren't No Dig then, so that's never been No Dig, but it's something I'm going to address over the winter period, once I've just got those pruned and tied into place, in the case of the blackberry. Then I'm going to turn that into a No Dig bed. So if you want to see how we're going to go about that, then do subscribe to the channel. And one of the questions that I have for you, which I'd be very grateful if you would answer. Myself and Mrs. W, we are thinking about doing a live video. You get to see us on screen, and
I'm not at all nervous, she says, with duddery teeth.
but if you're watching live at the same time, it's an opportunity for you to ask us questions, whatever you like, really. We'll probably give it a subject, and you know, you can, if you've got questions surrounding that subject, you can ask us. We can answer them and address your questions live on that video. Well, we've never done this before, clearly, so
So bear with us if we get it wrong.
hopefully we have the technology and we can work the technology. But yeah, really what I'm asking you is it something that you think you might enjoy? Is it something you might want to take part in? We can talk a bit later in the comments, or you can let me know down in the comments, you know, maybe what would be the best time. And then once we sort of figure out who might want to take part and who might well be there on the day, then we can ensure that we do it at a time that will suit most people. So yeah, just let us know in your comments, you know, is that something that you would like to see? Do you think you'd be interested in that, and would you like to take part? They're not ready for you yet, Poppy.
What are you doing, Poppy? Eh? Sniffing again? Sniffing again?
You can sleep in the polytunnel tonight and see if you can find those slugs. So that just leaves us now, Mrs. W, to get these squashed down into the shed.
Yeah, and our little storage
Yep.
space, yeah.
Lots of food there for the coming months.
Yeah, definitely.
And the swede, now that we've finished harvesting those, they can go down into the shed as well, and they'll give us lots of lovely food for the next couple of 3 months,
Yeah,
won't they?
definitely.
Bantams still giving us eggs?
Yes, they are. I laid them in there not thinking. They will not be going into the shed. They will be going into the kitchen.
Yes, they need to go into the kitchen.
Yorkshire pudding tomorrow, I think.
So, Poppy, let's get all this down into the shed. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great gardening week, won't you? And we shall see you next time.